I try to give myself grace. Everybody says give yourself grace. It's so hard for me to do that. At the end of the day, it's my fault, and I let everybody down.
Brittney Griner in tears. Aliyah Boston lifting her teammates. And the Indiana Fever storming into the semifinals for the first time since 2015. Analysts didn't expect this to happen. Not with 6 injured players and no Caitlin Clark. So, how did Indiana flip the narrative? And what does Guerrier's breakdown tell us about her future? How did Aliyah Boston dominate Guerrier to the point where there are now talks of retirement? Do you think this is the end of Guerrier? Let us know down in the comments below.
And Mitchell's been quiet for a while. Not anymore. Look, in Canada with another assist. A big bounce-back night for her. Mitchell dribbles behind the line to take the 3. Howard with the one-handed rebound and putback.
6 players injured. That's how many the Fever were missing when they walked into Game 3 in Atlanta. And somehow they're the team headed to the semifinals. Think about that. Caitlin Clark out. Sophie Cunningham, Sydney Colson, Chloe BBY, Ari McDonald, Dyrus Dantis, all sidelined. Practically half of Stephanie White's rotation was sitting in street clothes, yet they still found a way to snap a playoff drought that stretched back nearly a full decade.
We talked about the desperation before Game 2 on Tuesday. Just how does that carry over into tonight?
Well, I think anytime that you're a win-or-go-home situation, there's desperation. And so it has to carry over. You know, we're in the same situation. Our back is against the wall. We got to come out and we've got to play with that sense of urgency. We've got to play with that hunger. We've got to value every single possession and every single opportunity.
The last time Indiana won a playoff series, Tama Catchings was still anchoring the roster, Stephanie White was coaching them to a finals run, and Natasha Howard was just breaking into the league. Since then, fans have grown used to early exits and rebuilding talk, but this team flipped the script on Friday. Analysts said there was no chance they'd beat Atlanta without Clark's shooting or Cunningham's energy, and some even argued the Dream's depth would wear them out. But instead, Indiana looked like the team playing at full strength.
We've just been through so much this season, giving ourselves another chance in Game 3. Emotions are high.
This is a group that's confidence has really never wavered. This group has continued to show their heart, their character, night in and night out.
I think we all piggyback off each other within our group and our organization.
We've been in every kind of situation you can imagine, and we've been able to find ways to put ourselves in position to win, and this will be no different.
Somebody has to lose and somebody has to win.
Inside Gateway Center Arena, the crowd had the feel of split loyalties, as Fever fans came in loud, and by the second half you could actually hear them more than Dream supporters, making it feel like a home game during an elimination matchup, something that gave the players clear juice down the stretch. And make no mistake, the injured stars were part of that too, with Clark never stopping rallying from the bench, Cunningham acting like another assistant coach, and BBY in every huddle giving them their 6th man even without being on the court.
Indiana Fever are heading to the semifinals.
Driving to the foul line and the paint, lays it in. Sims crossover left to right, gets into the paint, layup, good.
Inside, Boston.
Then you realize just how personal this victory was for the actual lineup, because this isn't just Aliyah Boston's first playoff series win, it's Kelsey Mitchell's first, same for Lexi Hull who's grinded her way into the rotation, and every player who touched the floor had a role, but for those names it doubled as validation, and after the way games 1 and 2 unfolded it felt overdue, with the officiating stirring plenty of anger around the league, missed calls, whistles late in the 4th. But the Fever didn't let it bleed into their focus in Game 3 as they shut the door for good.
To Jones, throws it up.
No good! Game over! And the Fever are moving on!
Atlanta had the healthier roster, the assumed advantage, and the home floor, but Indiana countered with grit, togetherness, and just enough playmaking when it mattered. And once the Dream melted in the final minutes, resilience won out. Which brings us straight to Aliyah Boston's showdown with Brittney Griner and how it signaled a clear changing of the guard in the paint. Because why was Brittney Griner sitting on the bench during most of an elimination game? That's the part that shocked everyone. You're talking about a player who for years was the face of playoff basketball in the paint, the one defenses dreaded whenever the postseason came around, the one who could swing momentum with a blocked shot or a quick hook, and yet in this series, especially in Game 3, she wasn't even trusted to finish, and that alone tells you something about how fast things have shifted.
Alicia just 4 of 16 from the floor in Game 2. That's terrific. Paul into Boston. Beautiful read.
Griner built her career on overpowering her matchups inside, with a length, quick step, and instincts to protect the rim while punishing slower bigs on the other end. And in past playoff runs she put up double-doubles without even sweating. But against Indiana none of that showed up as she struggled to score, looked flat-foot on rotations, and left the Dream unable to rely on her defense to cover gaps, turning from the anchor into the liability. Meanwhile, on the other side, Aliyah Boston was everything Griner used to be, finishing Game 3 with 14 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists. And it wasn't just the numbers but when she made them, as with the clock winding down in the fourth she got position, finished the go-ahead layup with just 7.4 seconds left, and left Atlanta with no answer, a single play that pretty much flipped Griner's career highlight reel upside down.
For Atlanta has not been good. 40%. Maybe a little higher than that, 45.
Indiana electing not to call a timeout. Boston almost gave it away. Into Boston for the lead. She hits it. Indiana goes up.
Boston gets it. Mitchell is denied, but then Jordan Canada falls. Bree Jones almost gets it, but that's a second defender that's gone down, and Bree Jones.
Boston's defensive approach was just as important because she never chased blocks or overcommit, instead pushing Griner off her favored spots, angling her body to force fadeaways, and staying disciplined when Griner tried to back her down. And that positioning made Griner uncomfortable as shots that looked automatic in years past rattled out. And by the third quarter you could see the frustration building. Because there's a difference between losing to talent and losing because someone flat out took away your comfort zone, and Boston gave her none. The numbers back it up, with Griner's playoff averages across her prime seasons showing her producing in double digits with high efficiency and heavy minutes. But in this series she dropped to career lows with 2 points and 2 rebounds in one game, barely cracking the box score and then losing her minutes when it mattered most. Compared to Boston's stat line of not only scoring and rebounding, but also creating for teammates with 6 assists, the most direct contrast you could possibly script.
I don't think I really gotten through all the way. That I didn't let down, everybody in my family, and it was just. I think I'm still trying to get through that part. Still to this day. I try to give myself grace. Everybody says give yourself grace. It's so hard for me to do that. At the end of the day, it's my fault. And I let everybody down.
And now the question starts popping up. Is Brittney Griner done as a dominant center? When your coach benches you during an elimination game, it signals more than just a rough night. It suggests a loss of faith. And sure, she's had a long career and plenty of highs, but the way this series unfolded it looked less like a slump and more like a closing chapter. Maybe she's slowing down for good, maybe she's eyeing retirement sooner than expected, or maybe she simply ran into a player who already looks like the future of the position. So while Griner quietly sat on the sideline, Boston took the spotlight that used to belong to her, and in that moment it wasn't just a single game deciding who moved on to the semifinals. It felt like a passing of the torch. The old standard bowed out, the new one stood tall, and nobody watching could pretend not to notice what had just happened.
10. Mitchell, a little bit too strong. Boy, we got some stuff going on here between Aliyah Boston and Bree Jones, who ended up on the deck. The officials are going to go over.
Now the story moves from one player to the whole roster because as great as Boston was, Indiana needed more than one star to close this out. It took Mitchell attacking, Hull making hustle plays, Sims setting the table, and role players stepping in exactly where they were needed. And that collective effort is the real reason the Fever are still alive in the postseason. Imagine losing 6 rotation players. That's not just depth gone. Its entire game plans ripped apart, yet somehow Indiana managed to put together one of their most complete team wins of the entire season. So if it wasn't Caitlin Clark leading the charge and it wasn't the bench packed with usual firepower, then who decided this game? The answer is a mix of leaders, veterans, and players who absolutely refused to let the season end.
Just picked up her second foul, so Hillman and Gray each with 2. Mitchell over the Boston screen.
And that was tough, her hands. But going back to that ball screen here, little movement in the first part of that screen by Aliyah Boston.
Mitchell, man, she is so good.
Kelsey Mitchell set the tone. You could see it from the opening quarter. Atlanta's defense clogged the lane, bodies everywhere, hands reaching on her drives, and yet she still found buckets anyway, finishing with 24 points including 19 in the first half alone. And that was what kept Indiana within striking distance when things easily could have unraveled. Because without her ability to carve through traffic and find space in tight windows, the Fever wouldn't even have been close enough for the late game drama. She's been their leading scorer across this postseason, and in this matchup, she played like the anchor for a team missing its superstar.
Packing from the outside and now the inside. Now Mitchell's been quiet for a while, not anymore. Mitchell over to Boston, again the shot clock winding down. Mitchell, tough shot off the bounce to get around Jones.
2 steps behind the 3-point line and the dribble handoff for Kelsey Mitchell.
Then there's Odyssey Sims, a hardship contract pickup and now suddenly one of the most important players on the floor in a knockout game. She stuffed the stat sheet with 16 points and 8 assists. But the real story is the timing. That critical pass to Boston in the final seconds that set up the go-ahead layup. That's poise you don't usually get from someone who only recently got there. Sims gave Mitchell another ball handler, another confident voice. And when the defense collapsed, she knew where to send the ball. No hesitation, no panic, just composure when Indiana needed it most.
A complete skill set in all that she can do.
It's the first miss for Atlanta as Howard could not get it to go. Odyssey Sims, this is what head coach Stephanie White wants from Odyssey. Gray with 10 points so far. Sims dribbled right into trouble and was able to score and get fouled.
Lexi Hall had the single biggest defensive play of the night. With 7.4 seconds left, Atlanta had one last chance. Ryan Howard tried triggering the inbound, but Hall read it perfectly. Quick anticipation, a clean steal, game over. That steal erased any chance of a miracle comeback and sealed the series win. Moments like that don't show up as flashy as a box score stat, but it was the defining sequence for Indiana's season.
Howard gets it in, but it's knocked away by Lexi Hall. Hall with the steal. And the Indiana Fever, beset by major injuries all year long, are on the doorstep of making the semifinals.
Brianna Turner deserves her flowers too. She wasn't lighting up the stat sheet, but her defensive positioning and activity gave Indiana the toughness to compete with Atlanta's length. Stephanie White has described her as the ultimate pro, and you could see why. She rotated where others slipped, contested shots without fouling, and did the thankless work to stabilize possessions. Add Natasha Howard, who chipped in little plays that don't always get featured, and you had 2 veterans making sure the glue held together.
Griner posting up, setting a screen ultimately that Shea Penny ran into.
Anytime Atlanta needs a bucket, they look to her, and she's wanting the ball as well with the last 4 for Atlanta.
Even the smallest minutes mattered. Michaela Timpson only played 4 minutes, but she pulled down 5 rebounds in that stretch. That's instant impact. Shaw Petty had the clutch 3 in the fourth that flipped momentum yet again. Those are contributions that don't scream headline, but they shift games, especially when rotations are thin. The bench itself also played a role without logging minutes. Clark, Cunningham, and BBY were active in huddles, clapping, shouting, even just lending energy. Clark even showed up laced in black Air Force Ones, and Fever fans couldn't help but call it a good luck charm. That sideline presence gave Indiana a sixth-man mentality, and it mattered in the late stages when composure was everything, especially considering the officiating drama from earlier games. Down the stretch in Game 3, they didn't blink.
Another one of the signees because of injuries in the game. As we approach a minute to go, Aerial Powers in.
The bench.
All the injured players to not just cheerlead, but also to give advice to all the newbies. Big block by Powers.
Good help side by Ariel Power.
This win wasn't about one star lifting everyone. It was layered, built on everyone accepting a role and stepping into it when their moment came. And now the question becomes, if this injury rid can finish off Atlanta like that, what happens when they're staring down the two-time champions in Las Vegas? You think knocking out Atlanta with 6 injured players was impressive? Wait until you see what's waiting in Vegas. The Indiana Fever's reward for their first playoff series win in nearly a decade is a matchup with the team that has been running the league, the Las Vegas Aces. This isn't the Dream's young roster anymore. This is a two-time champion led by A.J. Wilson, a player some are already calling one of the greatest forwards ever. Add Jackie Young, Jewel Lloyd, and Chelsea Gray, and you're looking at a lineup that knows how to close games and doesn't flinch under pressure.
The Indiana Fever are heading to the semifinals of the WNBA for the first time in 10 years. Kelsey Mitchell said, all that we've got, and we have all that we need, cobbling together this roster, and here they are, about to be in the Final Four.
What you thought was impossible is possible. A team that has been devastated by injury, rallying on the road. One more time.
The contrast between these squads couldn't be starker. Indiana is patched together, still battling through the absence of Caitlin Clark and a bench filled with injured veterans. Vegas is full strength, talented at every position, and no stranger to playoff basketball. Just last week, they survived a test against Seattle with Wilson dropping 38 points and Jackie Young hitting the game winner with 12 seconds left. That's what Indiana is walking into, a team that thrives in crunch time and expects to win. Aliyah Boston has been sensational, but now comes her hardest test yet. A Wilson isn't just a scorer, she's versatile enough to guard multiple positions while still dominating the glass. Boston will need every bit of her strength and discipline to match up. The paint isn't just about points, it's about control, and whoever wins that battle probably decides the series.
Y'all are a tough bunch of. I mean, I cannot even put into words how proud I am. It's like the toughness that it takes, like the gut checks that it takes. Like, y'all, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because we've been through all of it, right? Yeah. So it doesn't matter the circumstance, it doesn't matter the score, it doesn't matter the time. You always put your best foot forward. You always get to the next play, and it's always someone different.
The Fever's other challenge is tactical. When their ball movement clicks, they create open looks and strike quickly in transition. Against Vegas, every mistake turns into easy points the other way. This is where Kelsey Mitchell's shot-making becomes critical. She can't afford to have empty possessions. Not against one of the highest-powered offenses in the league. Odyssey Sims will also be tested as a secondary playmaker, trying to find windows against defenders who rotate faster than anything Atlanta put out there.
You actually just referenced it twice. It is Indiana. Dropped 2 of the 3 games to them this year, but you haven't seen them since late July. What excites you about that matchup?
That they haven't seen the releases yet. They caught us when we were at a bit in turmoil. Not only that, they whooped us one of those stretches. So, you know what? We'll buckle in, hone in where we can, and take care of business.
Becky Hammond already said it plainly. They haven't seen the real aces yet. That wasn't a throwaway line. It signals confidence and honestly a warning. The Fever will have to prove their resilience wasn't a one-round story. This series will either confirm they're building something sustainable or show the limits of heart when stacked against proven championship talent. Aliyah Boston didn't just win a matchup, she flipped a storyline. Where Brittney Griner once controlled the paint, Boston walked in and claimed it as her own. That performance marked a real turning point, not only for her, but also for the Fever's identity as a team that doesn't crumble under pressure. What makes this run even harder to ignore is how short-handed Indiana was. If they can win a playoff series, missing nearly half their roster, what happens when Clark and the others return in 2026? Could we be watching the very beginning of a dynasty taking shape? Do you think this is the end of Griner? Let us know down in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out.